sky. Don't let it all go passing by. You know you only get one life.
I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I thought that verse was fitting for today's guest. It's from Philippians 4:13. And there are some people that train for strength, others for speed. But when you meet and think of someone like Daniel Gil, you realize he trains through faith. A champion of American Ninja Warrior, Daniel didn't just overcome obstacles on the course. He's overcome the ones we all face: fear, failure, and doubt. And through it all, his foundation has been not just muscle, it's been his faith. In this episode, we're going to go deeper than competition, and I could not be more excited to speak today to American Ninja Warrior champion and the Kingdom Ninja, Daniel Gil. Hi, Daniel. How are you?
Hey Charles, I'm well, man. Thank you for having me on your show today. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, Daniel, it was definitely a privilege when you accepted this. I've been so excited. And you probably made me at 53 look a little more cool to my kids. They look at you next to me on the screen. They think I'm a little bit cool. They know I'm a nerd and a geek, but you helped me there, so thank you.
Absolutely. And also, I mean, we all are in our own ways. You know, we got our quirks and fun, fascinating hobbies. So it's right there with you, Charles.
Well, thanks, Daniel. And Daniel, for those who may not know you, would you mind giving a brief intro of yourself?
Absolutely. Yes. So my name is Daniel Gill. As of this current season, Monday nights, new episodes, a 10-time American Ninja Warrior competitor and runner-up twice and grand champion on season 12. And it's been a journey. This is a life and a career that I never would have otherwise pursued on my own. People ask me all the time, like how I got into American Ninja Warrior, and literally, Charles, it was um, in the act of pursuing the Lord with everything, every gift, every talent, every ability, putting my time and my energy, my efforts into, learning about the Lord, who He is, what He's like, understanding His character and His nature through the Bible, through going to Bible college, traveling the world on missions trips. It was like, being an athlete and what else? I was like a singer, dancer, performer, actor. I had so many different paths before me, and yet pursuing the Lord directed me into the world of American Ninja Warrior back in 2012. And I was like, all right, Lord, it was like this light bulb moment. And I was like, well, if you're going to bring this into my life, God, then I'm going to use this for ministry. I'm going to put kingdom big and bold across my chest to honor you and to point others towards you. And I'm going to use every opportunity to encourage, to inspire, and to point people to Jesus Christ and the kingdom of God. And so it's just been this wild journey for about 12 years of my life, while, with 10 seasons. And I've been doing it longer than anything else in my life. And I still think we've only just begun to scratch the surface, and not in any sort of like egotistical way, but only the realizing the more that I learn about the heart of the Lord, He's got really, really big plans. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to be front and center spectacle, but I do believe that my life is going to continue to impact many others in the most incredible ways that only the Lord Himself could set up. So that's who I am, what I do. I still compete. I'm still a coach here in the Houston area and travel full time as a motivational speaker and all these other really interesting things that the Lord has kind of just brought into my life organically through means of a television show like American Ninja.
Amazing stuff. And Daniel, I think what really strikes me about you, it's just like your true, like the authentic passion and the way that you don't hide behind your beliefs at all. You put them front and center. And I think it's such a credit to you. And it's a pleasure for somebody like myself who's a little bit older to see it. And it's really appreciated. And that's why I think in my years of watching the show, you have definitely been one of the competitors who has stood out to me. And like I said, I'm really, really excited to talk with you today. Um, Obviously American Ninja Warrior, that just the obstacles, difficult, extremely difficult. Like I told you before we started, I'd break something if I tried some of those challenges. I know I couldn't. I think I lived through you guys and watching. So I do train as far as trying to stay fit and healthy, but when it comes to what you do, what does your day-to-day training and discipline look like behind the scenes and
Mm.
beyond what people see when you're out there competing?
Yeah, no, it's incredible when I watch the show. My 17-month-old loves watching Ninja Warrior, and so she's just getting to like the babbling phase. So it's like Ninja, Ninja. I'm like, you want to watch some Ninja? And so we'll watch it, my friends and myself. It's like home videos to me. But it's funny when you watch a show like that, you're inundated with, yes, it's a competition, but also there's a big emphasis on the reality TV side of it, all the stories of overcoming different obstacles, which is great. I'm not knocking that at all. But it's funny, you watch, 30 to a few minutes, 30 seconds to a few minutes of, these men and women running these courses, but you don't realize the blood, sweat, and tears, the days, months, weeks, and years that go into training for those few seconds on a television show. And so for me, I've been an athlete my whole life. Like I was the wild, crazy, active monkey boy kid in my family of 5 kids growing up. That I was the one that played sports, and I wish I could say that I were half the athlete in any other sport compared to how I am as a ninja athlete. Um, I will say that every other sport that I did culminated and helped with what I do in ninja, but I was never a very good athlete. It was never a great team sport um, player. And not that I didn't like team sports. I just found out in my high school years that I thrive in a personalized environment where it's just you versus whatever. So I discovered I thrived in like singing, dancing, performing in my high school years because I was like, it's just me. Whatever I put into it, I get out of it. And so when I found Ninja Warrior, I was like, this is awesome. This is what I want to do. And I already love to train and be an athlete on my own merit. So now I'm just going to train in ways that benefit this.
Mm.
So, like any other high level athletes, there's anywhere from 2 to 4 hours a day of training that goes into preparation for what you see on those few minutes of the TV show, which goes to show how I and others like myself have been so successful and hit so many buzzers and done so well. Like it's not solely the grace and the favor of God. I remind myself and others like our job is to work hard, to do our best, and to trust the Lord with the rest. And there was a hip hop song that there was a line recently that I've been repeating to myself where he's like, I'm doing everything that I can so that God can do everything that I can't. And I'm like,
Mm.
that's what we need to realize. Like we're called to actually actively walk by faith and then trust the Lord to to bring the increase or the favor or whatever. The Psalms writes about how the horse is made ready for battle, but victory belongs to the Lord. So all that to say is on any given day or every day, I should say, is a little bit different for my training. With Ninja, it's such a high impact, dynamic sport that you can't just do obstacles every day
Mm.
because you're liable to rip shoulders or tendons, ligaments. It's a very, very harsh sport, and we're still in the Wild West in terms of what's the term? Like standardizing it, getting training manuals out. It's really just a hodgepodge menagerie of like, okay, if you're good at parkour or rock climbing or have a background in gymnastics or like any other extreme type of sports, ninja's a really fun outlet. But for me, for example, one day it will be like upper body, usually 2 workouts a day when I'm really, really in training season. One, higher end workout, whether that's upper body, lower body, and then one either lower end, like zone two cardio, like a fast walk for, 30 to 40 minutes. My girl's in
Mhm.
a stroller. And then one workout a day might just be a focus on like recovery.
Mm.
So whether it's using a massage gun or any of the other ways that you recover, there's a lot that goes into it and a lot of sports specific training that I do at my house that then translates to the ninja course. So like I've got a hang board for like rock climbing, like just building the tendons in my strength. I've got like an endless rope machine, really just like an upper body treadmill is what that is. And each day is a little bit different and has a different focus, whether upper body, lower body, endurance, just power or strength or speed. And it's a lot of fun because for me, as much as I enjoy structure and routine, I also enjoy doing new things in my training. And it's really fun that with Ninja, you never know what you're going to get on the next obstacle course. You don't know. What you see on TV is the first time that we ever touch those obstacles because we don't know what they are until we show up. We train by faith and look at past seasons, obstacle courses, and just say, okay, if I have this, I need to know how to do this type of movement, count how many swings I'm going to take, have a strong enough core to generate and build momentum quickly. There's a lot that goes into it. And that's a very long-winded answer, but that's what my training looks like on a daily basis. Anywhere from 2 to 4 hours of upper body, lower body, sometimes sports specific, other times just solely conditioning, getting physically strong enough to then do well on the courses.
As you were giving the answer, I was thinking about watching the show and watching the obstacles. And you said something when you were describing your training. The one thing that I've noticed, I think recently, is some of the just stress on the downwards, the amount of impact you got to absorb on some of that. I actually, as I look at that and I think about you guys hanging with just your fingertips, and I'm like, I don't know how they're doing that, but yeah, no, it's no, I appreciated the detailed answer. So Daniel, obviously in life for all of us, we all face setbacks and delays, near misses. And you had a couple near misses, I believe, before you won the finals back in the season 12, I believe. Um, During that, how do you stay mentally focused and motivated through some of the tougher seasons of Ninja Warrior?
Yeah, man. Well, I'll say for first of all, I believe as a Christian, one, there is no greater life to be lived than a life in pursuit of truth, which ultimately becomes a life pursuing the Lord. And the amount of life and perspective and purpose that that life gives you, which in my opinion is the life we're created for, that there is an intelligent creator. He revealed himself through the word of God, the infallible Bible that we had, those 66 books, and the life and the person of Jesus, his son. And I am fully convinced that above any other, religion or way to God, Christianity has the best of every possible uh, benefit that you could see with none of the setbacks. And I am so given to my walk with the Lord that that is the purpose that I live for. I mean, Kingdom Ninja, it's not just a moniker, like it's the lifestyle, and I believe that it's what Christ died and rose for, not just to get us to go to heaven someday, but to allow us to have access to the kingdom of heaven in our daily lives in whatever area of society that we're called to. And so, all that to say is it's very easy, well, it's easier, I should say, to have those near misses, those close losses, to lose $1 million not once but twice by a couple of seconds, and still be able to put one foot in front of the other and move forward in life. So in 2019, I made it all the way to stage four. And I remember holding the rope. It's the 80-foot rope you got to do in like 30 seconds or less. And it was literally right immediately after I had finished stage three with the flying bar dismounted. I had never had a bigger pump in my forearms in my entire life. And as soon as they finished the quick little sideline interview, they said, "Hey, great job. We've actually already begun moving the audience over to the next stage. We have to take you immediately over there. We're putting you in your body harness now because we're behind schedule and we have to pick up the pace and go immediately to the last round." And I remember thinking and praying, like, Lord, this is not how this was supposed to go.
Mm.
I'm supposed to have good rest, and was literally the last person on that stage, and now gonna have to run stage four. And I remember holding that rope and praying and being like, Lord, the outcome of this is not going to have any impact or effect on tomorrow, and definitely not on my walk with you, Lord. I've already committed my life to you, come hell or high water, through thick and thin. I said, Lord, I know quite a bit about you now after pursuing you for so many years. I know, Lord, that if you need me to win this thing, which you might not, but if you do, if you have a greater purpose for this than just me winning $1 million and lifting my hands up and saying Jesus saves, that would be pretty cool. But I think that would be a great amount of ministry impact. But if you need me to win this thing, Lord, You could give me supernatural strength like Samson in the Bible when he defeated the Philistines. Lord, you could give me supernatural speed like Elijah when you gave him the strength and the power to like outrun a king's chariots, like 40 plus miles an hour to get to the Israel to give a message that the Lord needed to give. And I said, Lord, I know that Hebrews talks about, angels who are there to minister to those who inherit salvation. As a child of God, adopted into the family and the kingdom of God, I believe that there is angelic divine, ministry. And if you need, I've seen that old movie, Angels in the Outfield. You could have an angel push or pull me up this rope. I trust you and your plans in Jesus' name. And then I hear the go, and I climbed with everything. I gave it everything that I had and lost by a couple seconds. And it hurt a lot more than I thought. But at the end of it, even praying like, Lord, how can you bring good out of this? Like you promised in Romans 8:28. How can you bring good out of this? Lord, I just lost and was, in my opinion, humiliated on national television in front of millions of people. Well, what can you do with this? And through prayer, and just waiting on the Lord, trying to listen to the Lord, I heard him speak to my heart and say, well, Daniel, anybody can win anything, lift their hands up and give me glory and praise. He's like, look at any other sport, it happens all the time. He's like, but Daniel, how many people can get up there and lose $1 million by a few seconds and still lift their hands up and praise me and still be a good sport and, you know, be a good role model for those who need to realize we all fall, we all fail, we all make mistakes. Nothing always goes the way that we want. And he's like, I'm going to trust you with that. And so I told all my kids that I would go when I would go to different speaking events at schools and churches and gyms across the US from the rest of that year after they watched it, was like, Daniel, you came so close. What a disappointment. You're the best loser. And I was like, well, here's the thing, guys. At the end of the day, I trained hard, and with the grace of God, I made it to the end. And if I did that once, and then I would pause for dramatic effect, and some little kid in the back would be like, you could do it again. And I was like, I could do it again. So to sum it up, the very next year, I trained my tail off. And in 2020, after the show had gotten postponed several times because of the worldwide pandemic and thinking that the world was ending, I was like, Lord, every time I go to prayer, I don't get a new answer. It's just train and be ready. So, Lord, I'm going to train and be ready. And halfway through the summer, I got a call and they said, hey, we are filming a season. It's going to be in a couple weeks, and I hope you're ready because we're doing it. So I went and I won season 12 of American Ninja Warrior. And just to the testament of hard work and trusting in the Lord, not giving up, I became season 12's grand champion. And it was the only year that they didn't have $1 million grand prize, which was a a bummer, but still the best payday. I won 100,000, which was amazing. Got to honor the Lord with the best tithe I've ever been able to sow into the kingdom. But then I wanted to win. I wanted to beat stage 4 again, get my rematch because they didn't have that rope climb when I won.
Mm.
Fast forward a few more years, in season 15, I make it back, become the fourth man in U.S. history to win American Ninja Warrior, to beat stage 4. And for 10 beautiful minutes, I was a millionaire winner. And then my good friend, young Vance Walker, did it 1 second faster than me. And there are no second place prizes for Ninja Warrior. And I remember thinking, Lord, this is very disappointing. Like I verbatim, I got what I prayed for. I wanted going into that season, I wanted my rematch on stage 4 and I wanted to beat it. But I wasn't praying specifically for $1 million. So I was like, all right, God, I guess that's on me. Like I need to pray more specifically. But also I don't do ninja for money solely. I do it for the impact and the joy that it brings me. So all in all, there's a lot of ups, a lot of downs. I've had a lot of disappointments and frustrations, but at the same time, I have known from day one, like I'm on this show because you opened the door and you brought the grace and the favor, and I will continue doing it to the best of my abilities as many more years as I have before me, Lord. So whatever happens, I'm going to do my best to honor you and be a good representative and a role model and show people what it looks like to live a life on fire for the Lord and for his purposes. So
Mm.
the stings still hurt, but we're getting through it, and God has always provided for me and my family.
Yeah, amen to that, Daniel. And Daniel, I want to tell you this too. I think from a perspective of somebody obviously older than you, and you had mentioned about losing, right? And when I heard you say that, I thought as soon as you said, I'm like, I never once look at any of you competitors when you don't complete an obstacle. Losing and loser was never a thought that crosses my mind. Like I think I just look at that show and look at all that you do. And then somebody like you who has turned it into just such a platform for good. To me, it's just all about the journey. And I know I was happy that you got to achieve the ultimate end win, but I just saying to you, man, as you experience more highs and lows throughout, if you're ever thinking back to this day, remember this older guy said to you that you're never, in my eyes and probably most people's eyes, you're never looked at as a loser, man. Everything you're doing here is winner, 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 and extremely good person that you're doing good for this world, man. So I just had to say that to you, man, because I was taken aback a little bit because you guys, and especially you to me, man, never ever do I put loser or lost in the same sentence with you. So I just had to share that with you.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
Curious, out of you were talking about the rope obstacle. I just had one really specific question.
Mhm.
What's maybe not that obstacle that's the end ones, but it's more, earlier round obstacles, right? I always feel like there's one or two. Is there any one of those that you're always like, that one is tricky and it always makes me nervous?
Oy. Well, the the difficult answer is that they change obstacles every single year. I will say that the balance ones, by the grace of God and many years of dance, I've never fallen on a balance obstacle, but those are always treacherous. I mean, just this season alone, if you look at or catch up
Mm,
on these episodes, so many awesome, strong or popular ninjas went out on balance this year, whether it was the rolling logs or whatever it was. For me personally, the really technical obstacles are ones that I look at and I'm like, I don't want to mess with that. That's like I prefer strength. I'm like, okay, I've trained hard. I'm strong enough to beat the tough ones. But the ones that's like super technical. So for example, let me see, oh gosh, several years ago on the stage two in the national finals for season 11, I believe, or 10, season 10, they had an obstacle called Deja Vu. And it was after the salmon ladder on stage two.
hmm
You would reach out to a bar and you would swing back and forth on this bar. And on your backswing, you had to unhook a bar, swing because it was suspended by two ropes. You would swing, and then you would have to rehook on the opposite end of your swing, rehook that bar onto another set of cradles, transfer to another bar, build up a swing, and on your backswing, unhook it, swing her out, and then go to a dismount pad. And it was one of the most technical, one of the most complicated, one of the most frustrating, finicky obstacles I've ever done. And I say that because I fell on it. I got stuck on it. It
mm.
wasn't a matter of strength, it was a matter of technique and timing. And I did not have either of those good enough for that obstacle. So yeah, the technical ones I'm less of a fan of. I'm usually pretty decent, like pretty good at those. Um, but doesn't mean I like them. Doesn't mean I enjoy them. I'd rather the strength-based obstacles. So like the end of like the last obstacles on the city finals, like the invisible ladder that we got, or the elevator climb, or even just like the spider wall or spider trap. I've always loved those because they're strength-based. It's like, okay, what do you have left in the tank at the end of a course? And I'm like, I've got a lot because I've trained a lot. And but the sometimes the balance ones, but definitely the weird technical ones are tough obstacles.
Yeah, I think I suspected that because watching even this year, I think watching the balance, the logs, I felt like that episode that when I was watching that, it seemed like it took out so many competitors. Um, do you as I've always felt like watching American Ninja Warrior, I felt like you to me were one of the first, earlier competitors that I thought was very speed oriented, that you really went not just to complete the course, you were actually competing against time and trying to do it quicker. Um, I feel like lately there's a lot of younger generation coming up, and I'm floored by the amount of speed that they're using. Two-part question. Who do you look at from, I'll say, the old school, someone you look up to, and who maybe is an up and comer that you're kind of like, this person is, I got my eyes on them.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Man, and you're right. Like, so going back to the first part, like when I first stepped onto the scene in 2015 on season 7, I was the youngest competitor on the season. Back when the age limit was 21. And for me, part of my mindset was always like outrunning the pump. So
Mm,
you have lactate threshold. So like rock climbing, you climb for a few minutes and then just your forearms turn into like rocks and you can't even hardly open your hands. And
mm,
I learned that if I move quickly enough within a certain amount of time, I've got a window of really high output before I start to hit a wall. And as long as I train my cardio, the musculature will be able to do it. And so I was like, okay, outrun the pump. Like go quickly. Don't be reckless. I've got friends in the ninja world. They're like, smooth is fast. Don't go any faster than you can stay smooth.
mm,
And so I was never trying to be reckless per se, but I was trying to get through it as quickly as possible. And being an athlete, I was like, I want to do well. I want fast times on these courses. Um, you know, Flash forward now, we've got kids, and unfortunately, there are so many athletes and so many good athletes. You kind of have to throw some, a flare or do something reckless or something to get attention on you because it's become more competitive in terms of like viewership now as a character on the show. So now you kind of have to go as fast as you can, and not to mention with the new format, which I think we started just this last week with the national finals having nothing but side by side racing. There's a bigger emphasis on speed now than ever before. But looking at the competitors, man, we've got some OG friends that when I stepped in, like I already looked up to them. I mean, I'm talking about we've got guys like Jamie Ron, Captain NBC,
mm,
the old and great Travis Rosen, who hasn't competed in a number of years, but he was the first strong, outspoken Christian, not on the TV show, but behind the scenes. He was the first one. Him and Michelle Warnke and a few others would say at the beginning of every competition while we're there on set about to begin running. They're like, hey, we're going to do a big open prayer. If anybody wants to join in, pray for protection, pray for confidence, pray for focus, pray for no injuries. And it was awesome. So when I stepped in, he was there as like the guy that was the strong Christian. And so there've been heroes like that. I've always loved Flip in the Nation. Like he's been a great friend and is also doing a huge amount of work in the space of working with like kids and young people. And so there's a bunch of OGs, a bunch of them that I've known for years and years. And now with these up and comers, I've got several former students of mine because I've been coaching for about 13 years, several former students that are now top dog athletes on the shows like Isabella Folsom, known her since she was like 11 years old. And now she's dominating the scenes as one of the top female athletes. David Bergstrom, right? The Cake Ninja. I've known him for years. One of the newer guys, Grant Kinningham, the sculptor, has been a student and a good close friend of mine for years. And it's just been so cool for me as a coach to see so many athletes that I've had a help in shaping who they are, how they train, how they prepare, come out on these courses and dominate for many, like several years now, with even more and more on the way. So it's been cool. And then, of course, all these young, fast, hotshot teenage guys are just, they're monsters. So fast, so strong, so fearless. I know that as an athlete, my years are numbered, but I'm like, all right, Lord, I'm going to continue to do my very best as long as I can and hit as many buzzers and do as well as I can. And our job is not to compare to others, but our job is to, prepare ourselves and do the best we can. And then, compare myself to how I was yesterday. And I feel like I'm still on an upward climb. So we're going to
Yeah.
keep at
Yeah, no, I enjoyed listening to you talk about some of the older competitors that I still, remember. And when you mentioned Flip to me was the first competitor that I was kind of like, and I mean this respectfully, he was kind of crazy to me that he didn't care. He was going to either get through that as fast as he could or he wasn't going to get through it. So that's how I kind of thought of him. And I was saying to my daughter when we were watching the other week, me being an older, I just said, I think this is unfair. I said, I think some of these younger competitors, they're super small. I'm like, there's a weight gravity component to this that I think they have an advantage. Just me, but I think there's a little bit of an advantage when I see some of these 110 pounders just flying through the air. But hey, but I think to your point, you've absolutely, I can tell you've kept in amazing top physical shape. And I'm looking forward to watching you for years to come. I was curious about this next question I want to ask you, knowing, your faith.
Mhm.
Has there ever been that time in your life, whether ninja or outside of ninja, where kind of I'll say your human outside ambitions kind of conflicted somewhat with your faith? And how
Mm.
did you handle it?
Yeah. There, in life, we will go through things, right? We live in a fallen world, and part of my daily talk to students and people is that you will fall, you will fail, you will make mistakes. You will face obstacles, whether they're physical, whether they're the emotional obstacles, or even the mental obstacles, or even the spiritual obstacles. I said, you will fall, you will fail. That's going to happen. I think half of Paul's letters that he wrote are to Christians who were falling and failing and just blowing it in different areas of the Christian life. So we shouldn't be, shocked when that happens to us. Even Jesus said, in this world you will have troubles, trials, tribulations, but to take heart. So it's more of a heart posture and a mindset than it is just the reality, like letting yourself be overwhelmed by the reality of this broken life that we all live. So with that said, I fully believe that everything that you go through in life, you've got two possible responses. They can either pull you or push you into further into the Lord and pursuing truth and trusting in Him, relying on Him, depending on Him for comfort, for guidance, for just the ability to get through it, or you pull away from the Lord. A lot of people get, whether it's church hurt or feel like the Lord let them down or whatever. God, you didn't do this, you didn't show up the way that I wanted you to, as if He needs to show up the way we want Him to anyway. But that's beside the point. But in my life, everything that I've ever gone through, by the grace of God, and I think I had very good parents, very good, pastors and teachers and mentors in my life that helped mold me into the man that I am. But everything that I've gone through has only ever pushed me further into the heart of the Lord. I've never had a crisis of faith as it pertains to my walk with Jesus. I have, however, had many um, questions and frustrations when it came to the overwhelming number of things that I love to do, that I could see myself doing for ministry, that I could also see it being a benefit to my family and my children's as it pertains to being an entrepreneur and having different streams of income. I have had the overwhelming feelings or frustrations in trying to determine which paths to pursue while still being an athlete who competes on the show, but my sources of income, right? Like I don't have a normal 9 to 5 job. I either coach part-time at a local ninja gym, or most of my income comes from events, traveling and speaking at schools, assemblies, or churches, or camps, or conferences. And they're amazing, they're wonderful, and they're, way more impactful than all the other mundane things that I do. And I love people. And so instead of trying to pursue online um, revenues, I opt for pursuing relationships and getting in front of people, high-fiving, handshaking, and seeing people in the face from a stage just to encourage them. And so that's kind of been the route that I've chosen for my life, and being spirit led in that. But there have been a lot of just seasons of difficulty, or fearing the unknown and being like, all right, Lord, I'm walking by faith, and you are, you're holding up every next step that I'm taking, but man, this isn't quite as easy as I thought it'd be. Like there's a lot of grounds to cover. There's a lot of steps that I know are going to have to be taken in order to get to where I feel and believe that you're calling me to, in terms of the end goals of some of these passions in my life. Anything from like the ministry side. My wife and I have a nonprofit. So I'm like, Lord, how much do I put into this? Getting like a mobile course and all these kinds of things for events, or writing more books. We've got three out so far that are encouraging and inspiring and Christ honoring. And it's really just a matter of time. And so now my prayer is like, okay, Lord, like, what is this season of life's focus? Because I know over the course of my life, I believe I'm going to hit each and every one of these goals or milestones or desires you've put on my heart. But I can either be really frustrated and trying to do all of it now and doing none of it well, or I can just take the time to say and wait on you, actively wait on you, say, Lord, what do you want right now? Because unfortunately, we live in a world where it's such a grind culture that we think that if we're not doing absolutely everything 24/7, that we're not doing enough. Because all you have to do is open up your feed and you'll see a million other people doing a million times more than you. Now, granted, you're only seeing their highlight reels, but there's just more and more reasons to self-doubt and then ultimately internalize that doubt and then flip it on the Lord and just become a really anxious or what is it, like fear-filled, anxiety-stricken, depressed person, even as a Christ follower. I don't think we're called to that. So I'm learning to find the balance of
Mhm.
seasons of rest and finding the one, maybe two things for any season of my life or any new year of my life that I feel like the Lord is calling me to. And with that type of mindset, no matter how many setbacks I continue to have or how much longer the goals and the things that I'm actively pursuing that even I feel like God is calling me to are taking, doesn't sting as bad because I know that each day I'm getting a little bit closer as I put in the work that I know I should. So sorry, long, long answer,
Oh,
but that's kind of my heart on that matter.
no, I listen, I enjoy listening to you speak. Also, I would say at this point in the interview here, kudos to your family, to your parents, to your mentors, because again, sitting here, 20 plus years your senior, you absolutely have a wisdom about you that is well beyond your years. And that's really probably attributed to the way you were brought up and all the work you put in. So definitely kudos to them and kudos to you. You did mention, good segue. I have two left. One of them was I wanted to ask about your books. So could you give me a little more on the books that you have currently out there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I got a little extra time too. Girls are still sleeping, but
Okay.
when it comes to the books, I never ever would have considered myself an author or would have actively pursued writing. I was not the best student growing up, but I loved reading, and I learned as a young person that if I just jot down my thoughts, if I just got them out of my heart, out of my head, then it wouldn't boil up and bottle up inside of me and cause me to just internalize and eventually explode or have a meltdown. And so I'm a huge advocate for journaling. Now, it's not like lying on your bed with a book, writing. Today's thing, like especially as a guy, I'm like, oh man, you hear the word journaling and you're like, that's lame. I'm not a sissy. But I like to keep records. I keep records of the different seasons of my life. I've got everything from like training journals to personal journals. I've got gratitude journals where it's literally just if I'm feeling down, I'll open it up, and usually most of them are on my phone in different apps and such, and I'll just write down things I'm grateful for. And you're amazed at the switch that happens when you start to just be thankful and actually name things that you are grateful for, and it changes your mood. It really, really does. And so I've always loved journaling, always loved writing down my thoughts, everything from goals to pursuits or whatever. And so many years ago, probably 7 or so years ago, I had a friend of mine, and he was like, "Hey man, I read my kids' bedtime stories every single night. And it occurs to me that there is not any sort of ninja based book. And my kids love the show. They love all they want to do is anything ninja. Would you ever consider like you need to write a kids book?" And I had never once thought that in my entire life. But the moment he said it, it was like this switch or another light bulb moment. And I was like, I'm gonna write a kids book. Like there was no doubt, there was no question. It was just like new information. I'm gonna write a kids book. And so with my wife, who's an illustrator, an artist, really, first time illustrating a book, she and I did it together with our first one, The Little Ninja. And it was just this little kids book, beginner reading or just bedtime story, kind of focused on my life of a kid just seeing the world as obstacles, wanting to be the monkey kid on everything, but also put in a bunch of health and nutrition and just things that kids need to hear. And it was a lot of fun. And we've got more of those in the works. But in the meantime, a few years after that, I had a publishing company, Harvest House out of Oregon, reach out and said, "Hey, we love who you are. We love your platform. We love watching you each season compete. And we would like to do a multi-book deal with you. And we want to do, a kind of biography, like fully color, like full like photo shoot, like pictures on every page of you. And we want it to be like a triune book in terms of your biography, but a focus on physical, mental, and spiritual health, Daniel. And we want it to be, and here, to add more parameters to it, that okay, it's going to be a book for athletes. So we got to have some physical stuff, some training stuff, some stretching stuff, but also for just fans of the show. We want it to be for boys and girls, for young and old, for Christians, but also appeal to those that just love you and who you are, and you being one of their favorite ninjas. So it was really fun to put that book together. And when I did, I had a ghostwriter initially, and it was great to work with to organize my thoughts. But it came so easily, and every topic that wanted to write about, I already had it written down from years and
Mm.
years of journaling my thoughts on everything I could think of. So the book literally came about overnight, it seemed. And even having a ghostwriter, I was like, this is awesome. I'm going to go back and redo absolutely everything to make it me. So the books are me
Nice.
entirely. And so that book just was really well received last year. We did basically the same book, but in a graphic novel version for younger kid or for kids that um, love the visuals,
Mm.
comic
Yeah.
books, things like that. Because anything that I wrote can be read by anyone, encouraged by anyone. Anyone can get a lot out of it. But we've got those different, not tiers, but different types for just different people. And it was so cool. We've got more books in the works. I'm like, Lord, I never would have thought myself an author, but I love wrapping my mind around my getting my thoughts on different topics and then sharing my results, my findings with anyone who will listen or read or care. And I find out that there's a lot of people that care when I go to events or set up merch tables or go out to these, whether Comic Cons or book readings or things like that. It's really cool. And just the feedback that I've gotten has been so sweet, so beautiful, especially because those other two books that I did, the biography and the graphic novel, are 100% Christian in terms of like, hey, I'm an athlete. Hey, I love what I do, but it's all for the glory of God. Here's my life verses. Here's, how I can get back up every time I fall or fail, whether physically, mentally, or spiritually. Like, Christ is the answer to all of those. And it's just been really, really a cool ministry tool that I never, ever would have pursued, but it just kind of opened up to me.
Mm. That is so awesome. I listen, I love hearing that because I did my own I did my own kid's book last year. I did two. And it's funny that yours is the little ninja. I developed a character, Kuro the samurai bear. And it kind of it's in fable format. But to your point, it's like every story is meant to teach a lesson, and it has an elder hero in there kind of, but it's just listening to you talk. And I feel the same way. The things you were saying, I'm like, yeah, that's the way I felt when I hear somebody said, oh, I liked your book or something like that. But I think I want to actually get the Little Ninja and your other book. I'm going to have to get those and check them out, because especially now after speaking to you. So I would definitely want to check those out. I think I'll be on Amazon today. Um, Last thing I wanted to ask you is this. When, and I know you're still young, but when people look back on your journey, I mean, Daniel, what do you hope they remember most? And, what do you want them to know that you stood for?
I think about that question often, actually, especially recently as I'm getting older in the world of ninja. Still young,
Mm.
but they keep dropping the age limit even younger. I think this current season we had 14-year-olds for the first time ever, and this next season, 18, which just got announced and just got locked in, and I just got, the invitation. I will be on this next new season of American Ninja Warrior, so training hard for that too. But while I look back and think about just my history, the mark that I've left on this show, or really on this world, um, is I'm living to hear the words from my Lord, well done, my good and faithful servant. And so I'm living to steward every facet of my life just to the best of my abilities, because I know it's not going to be perfect. I know that I still will fall, fail, and make mistakes at time, or just miss the mark, come up short. But I want those who remember me from the show to remember me as a man that lived for the Lord, put the Lord first, did my very best, and didn't live for myself in terms of, like, I want to win. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm the most competitive person that I know. But at the same time, I think there's been a grace on my life in this show, particularly, to realize, like, yeah, things don't always go the way that you want, and you need to be okay with that. So each season, in addition to wearing Kingdom across my chest, usually in the qualifiers, there's also in the semifinals and national finals, I try to add other kingdom core values. So I guess the short answer or long answer is, at the end of the day, I want to be known for the core values that I've worn across my chest, the things that I've stood for, which is first and foremost the kingdom of God. I want to be known as a man as close to David as possible, a man after God's own heart, that despite my flaws and failures and mistakes, shortcomings in life, I pleased the Lord, and I lived for him, and I did great things in his name. And not only that, but one of my favorite verses is, what is it? Proverbs 11:30, where it's the fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and he who wins souls is wise. I'm like, Lord, my life isn't just about myself. My life is about those that I am called to minister to. Now, unfortunately, the world that we live in is all about you. It's you centered. Like, we're our own gods, especially in America. But I know enough to know, especially as I've pursued the Lord, like, my life isn't about me. It's about, first and foremost, my walk with the Lord. Secondly, my walk with my wife. Thirdly, my family. These are the levels of ministry that we're called to in the world. And then after the Lord, my wife, my family, it's everybody else. Not that they're less. I just need to prioritize those others, and then know that my life is meant to be ministering to others, to let them know, like, hey, there is more to this life. Hey, there is intelligent design. There is a creator. He showed himself as the Lord God Almighty, Jehovah, and life with him, in spite of this world's flaws and failures, is so worth living. I think we need hope now more than any other time in the world, and arguably history, if not for the only reason that there's billions more people now on the planet that are all going through it. And we need to know that we're here for a reason and a purpose. And so my core values, like alive, or sacrifice, or honor, or legacy, these are all different shirts that I've worn on the show, and that's what I want to be remembered by, is a man that lived passionately for the Lord, and for people, to love God and to love people. And so, yeah, I think we're doing a decently good job of that. And I still want to hit buzzers too. I want to be known as a serious competitor just as much. So,
Listen, I don't think there's any doubt about any of what you just said. Obviously, we know that you are a super serious competitor. Again, it amazes me the things that you're able to do on the ninja course. Having to get a chance, watching from afar, I've always respected your, not just you as an athlete, but you as a person and what you stood for. I think we need more of it. And Daniel, I'll be honest, I think, and why wouldn't he? We know the Lord is great, and I think in choosing you as one of his stewards, he chose extremely wisely, because I think what we sometimes forget, and what's more needed, someone like you you bring it across as religion and faith is cool and it's okay. And we need that, because I think the younger generation looks at it sometimes as they don't want people to know, but I think you're making it, guess what? Shout it, let everybody know. And I think you're doing a great job. What do you have going on? Where can people get a hold of you? I'll be sure to put show notes, but give you a chance to plug anything you got going.
Sure. I mean, I'm not the best at social media in terms of it sucks way too much time and energy from people. So I don't post near enough, but I am on, Instagram at Kingdom Ninja. Facebook, we got a Facebook page, Daniel Gil, American Ninja Warrior. I guess the other big ones, we got two websites now. I've got my like Ninja Warrior website, danielgil.ninja, that has any of the upcoming events or things like that. And then our newest one, like I said, my wife and I, we have a 501c3 nonprofit now for all the church partnerships that we do to literally just do our best to preach the gospel and build the kingdom of God using obstacles and teaching that we can overcome anything, wins and losses. Like we can do, we quote Philippians 4:13, like I can do all things through Christ. But Paul, right before that, was like, yeah, I've lived through loss and, I've had great and I've had little and all this and that. And then he said, but I've come to this conclusion, like I can do all things through Christ. Like we can go through the difficult times because of Christ. And so my wife and I, we've got a ministry website that we just had launched like this last year, which is danielgilministries.com.
Mm.
I think the next big phase of my life, with a little bit of overlap of doing ninja at the same time, is going to be the ministry, the full-time ministry of my life. Of all my siblings, I'm the only one that doesn't work full-time at our local church, which is funny. I'm like the black sheep of the family. But the Lord has called me to a different type of ministry, which is more of like itinerant, just traveling and preaching and teaching. And so it's all good. Again, we don't try to conform to the mold of who we're around or what we know. We go where the Lord calls us, and we watch the most satisfying, most gratifying, and most fulfilling and impactful life that we could ever have imagined come along the way as we pursue the Lord wherever He leads. And so, yeah, people can keep up with me there through, Daniel Gil ministries.com or danielgil.ninja or any of my social handles. And I'll try to be better at posting, let people know what's going on. But yeah, just too busy living life and spending time with my two small girls. But life's good. Life's good. And stay along for the journey. I'm on the rest of this season for American Ninja Warrior and the next one too. So it's all good.
Well, I personally, my family, we will be watching. Daniel, again, I really, really, it was great getting this, share some space with you this morning here. I really appreciate it. Wishing you nothing but success, going forward. And for those watching, I hope what you take away from this is, have hope, have faith. And when it comes to Ninja Warrior, I think it proves to us all obstacles can be overcome with faith and hard work. So keep pushing along out there, people. Daniel, thank you again, and thank you everybody for tuning in. Take care.
This has been the
Bye.
Bare Essentials. Thanks for listening, and remember, never hibernate on your goals.